morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is David Nelson, and we are part of the Moeller Drummers Association. We are also members of the Charles W. Dickinson Fife Drumming Bugle Corps of New Rochelle, New York. We just played for you. We just played for you a piece that was written by Sanford Augustus Moeller called Moeller's Flammekuchen. We are here today to give you a little bit about Moeller's style, technique, preferences, and a little background history on him as well. Let's play a little bit of some of the stuff he's written and some of the stuff we've played today. One of the first things about Moeller, he was a veteran of the Spanish-American War, and so he had the opportunity to go to nursing homes and visit other veterans who served in previous wars. Mainly, he met even a couple of drummers who served in the Revolutionary War, Civil War, excuse me. So he actually got some techniques from him of how they were able to play in the field during giving them battle calls for that long time. And that's what he had imparted to the Corps, and that's how we play, and that's what we play today. One of the first techniques is, it comes from the grip. In the traditional grip, what most people consider the traditional grip, the right hand is in the grip is in the thumb and the first finger. But with Moeller, his grip he got was from the pinky. So we'll play, you'll see it sometime, we'll play him just like this. You may see the fingers come close to the stick, but the whole control is here in the grip. And that same grip is found in our bass drummers. So they play with that grip around the mallet at the bottom with the pinky, both hands. Before I go any further, I forgot, let me introduce the rest of my guys who are with me. We're all going to be talking, so it's not just going to be one voice. We have Ronnie Allen, the second, on the snare drum. And Rodney Smith, I was going to give you a different name, on the bass drum. We all are considered third-generation Moeller students. Moeller taught the drum corps when he came to the corps in the 30s. The corps started in 29, and I think he got in the mid-30s, they brought him in to teach the guys. He taught, names some of you may have known, Dave Boddy, Cecil Andrews. They in turn taught other guys who taught us. So that same technique that he gave is still being taught today and passed on today. So right now, this one isn't a Moeller piece, but it's Moeller influenced. It's a piece I wrote called Pigtown Flame. About Moeller's style is not tight, it's more relaxed, more loose, more free form almost. It's sometimes hard to control, but it's very easy to learn. Actually, excuse me, reverse that. It's hard to learn, easy to control. The reason I say that, we have a hard time, we have kids who are learning drums in school and they want to come and play with us. So when we try to teach them how to play that style, it's hard for them to learn. And they find it hard. So they're so used to being tight in here with the arms right here by the side, instead of having relaxed. And once they get it, then it's a different story, but it's hard for them to learn. For us, it was different because all three of us grew up around the corps, so that's all we knew. We saw that style, we learned that style easily. But for guys, kids that are now trying to come to us, learning it is harder because they all know this tight modern style right here at the hip, basically. Very loose wrist movement, but not much arm movement. As you see, we have arm movement, which allows us to bring part of the stick control, is arm movement. One of the things that he taught in teaching us is the rudiments. And how he taught the rudiments, it wasn't just strictly right, left, right, for a paradiddle, but down, up, tap. And in that, you learn from the basics, a downstroke, upstroke, and a tap. So the arm movement comes when you start naturally. So again, the challenge we have now is teaching somebody who's learning traditional at school how to open it up, bring it out, relax the arms, and learn to play the downstroke, bring upstroke, bring a tap. And sometimes it's kind of hard. But thank God somebody took the time and took Moeller's book, you know, the film strip, that he has some pictures in his original book of him displaying the tap. Somebody took those pictures and put them on YouTube and sped them up. So you can see his motion. I showed it to a couple of students one time, and once they saw that, their mindset changed. Us showing it to them and teaching it to them, they weren't getting it. Once I showed them that video, everything changed for them. It was natural, like I said, to us it's natural. But for somebody else who hasn't learned it and never saw it before, until they see us, and we play, but we don't always slow it down, unfortunately. But it's hard for them to pick it up. One of the things that Mr. Moeller taught was perfection. He demanded it of the students, and one of his students wrote this piece we're about to play, and that was Thomas Cecil Andrews. And we're going to play it Cecil's 25. In the stick control and in the rudiments, the basics of the rudiments, I already discussed the down, up, and tap. When Moeller wrote his music out, and Cecil wrote his music, they have a little notation that we know, but other people ask us, how do you play that? Because they don't understand the notation a little bit. The downstroke is considered basically in the notation as a down arrow, down triangle, point facing down. Upstroke is the triangle, point up. And the tap is just a circle. Now the difference is, which hand is which? He filled in those three icons with either, the filled in one would be the left hand, or open one would be the right hand. If you have the company book, there is one of those pieces in it, Pumpkin Creek, and it does have the notation there, so you can help you give it. It doesn't give you a complete notation, but in certain spots of the rudiments, give you the notation which hand is which. One of the things that we do, if you ever noticed already, is a lot of hand-to-hand stuff that's not all in the same hand all the time. That's one thing that he had ingrained in him, playing mobility, that full free-form mobility. So you should be able to do it on one hand, you should be able to do it on the other hand. So that it just naturally flows to you. We have, over the years, tried to maintain his techniques, and even with writing new music, we try to keep it in the Moeller style, where the rudimental style, you can hear the beat, you can hear the accents, but not also going so far left stream to get away from what we are known for. We have, one of the things that Moeller also stressed is in his preferences. Now we are playing on drums that he has made. These drums, this drum here, that Ronnie's playing, was the first one of this size he made for the Corps in 1949. The beauty of this drum, I think it was 94, 95, somewhere thereabout, we were at a parade and got hit by a bus. This drum we actually thought was gone. We had found a gentleman who was helping us to do some work on the drums. We gave him to the drum and gave it to him as parts so he was on the other drums to maintain them. He took his time, painstakingly put the drum back together. And it's still in playing condition as you see today. A little heavier than it used to be because of the reinforcing that he did, but it's a beautiful sounding drum today. Now, one of the preferences Moeller had was, and then he goes back to the learning he got from the guys in the veterans home, calfskin heads, no muffle strips, all natural. Everything natural. And thus, that's what we still do today. Even one further he does is the sticks. He preferred a heavier stick and heavier in density we're talking about. So originally the guys had ebony sticks. Ebony, as we all know, some of these woods are hard to find. I have rosewood in my hand now. I had a pair of ebony and they snapped on me so fast I couldn't believe it. But we were watching the parade and I brought my stick up and the tip went that way. I had to finish the parade on the back of the stick. I was playing by myself that day. But unfortunately, that happens. But that's one of the things he had requested of his drums. I know a lot of people have heard stories of Moeller when they try to get a drum from him. He requested that you at least show them that you get ability that you can play. And he would test some people. Wouldn't even make a drum unless he could play. I know Tom back there has a drum from his father that Moeller he got from his father. And we know Tom's father definitely can play. Dude. So there is a lot of stories about Moeller that everybody in this room could probably tell us something about him related to his drums and how people are fanatical of how his style was with the drums. Now, Mr. Moeller was also fanatical, like I said, with his teaching. Rodney, we call him RK. His grandfather played with was taught by Mr. Moeller up until he decided to get married. Because his grandfather. When his grandfather, his name is Willie Smith, when Willie decided to get married, he missed a rehearsal. And Moeller stopped teaching him because he missed rehearsals. So that's how strict Moeller was, if you get the understanding. Even to the point the Corps was in a competition one time, and they won the competition. Moeller made them come to practice the very next day. He said the only reason why you won was they didn't understand the music. But you guys weren't great. So he always gave also the positive thing he did was always leave the people wanting more. And we always try to do that, try to play just enough. If there's requirements, time requirement, we play up close to the time requirements. Occasionally we may go over, but we go to the time requirements and leave them wanting more so that if they want more, we can play more, but we don't force more. And that was an idea he had, so always had given that we pass on today. Okay. We're going to play another piece. This one's not a Moeller piece, but it's something everybody here should know. Hole in the Wabash is just a difference, so you can get a little difference on how we play it compared to how some other people play it. It's very standard, but the sounding is a little different.
Dave talked about the difference between the grip of the snare drum stick and the bass drum mallet. Mostly other cores, they have the straight shaft without our knob. Here with the Moeller style, we incorporate the use of the knob with the grip, mainly with the pinky, and the forefinger and the thumb is open. Now, getting into our strokes, for the bass drum, most of our strokes are starting from here. So the motion that I was taught by my grandfather, Willie Smith, who was, as we talked about, taught by Moeller himself. Our form for the downstroke started up here by our eyebrow, and we talked about swiping sweat from your brow. So we bring it from here and down. At the point of contact, when the mallet hits the drum, our wrist is bent totally in and loose, only until the point of contact. So we got our wipe the sweat from the brow, that's the downstroke. When you make contact, you automatically bring the mallet back off of the drum head. So that gives you that particular pop. There's the downstroke. Now, going into our hand-to-hand motion, we were taught an exercise where we have our downstroke, our upstroke, and our tap. Down, up, tap. Down, down. That gives us our hand-to-hand motion. That's how we're able to keep that style going. Downstroke, upstroke, tap stroke. And now we're ready to do it on the other side. Same thing. Now I got my wipe and scrub the brow, down, up, tap. And now I'm back to beginning. So I can do any rudiment or any combination of rudiments from one hand to the other. So I got my parallel. Now we're ready to do it again on the other side. Here we go. Flamme cue, same way. I can do any rudiment on either side, going from one side to the other.
Since Ronnie went into the stroke, we briefly discussed it, but when the snare drum is very similar. We have the downstroke considers, everybody hears Moeller talks about a whipping motion, and that's really what part of the downstroke is. You're going to bring it and bring it right back, whip it down. The stick facing into you starting up top, bringing it down and bringing it back up. You're whipping it, the whip action is in, you see the elbows kicking out, and that's part of the whip action. The wrist is turning, elbows kicking out. So stick brought back up. One of the stories I heard from Cecil is that most of Moeller would stand there in front of the kids and students as they were learning and kick their sticks back up with another stick just to make sure they get them back up when they started this down. So that's one of the things that you always see down. But when you do the upstroke, it's slightly different. The upstroke, I'm going to just do it on the left hand just so you can see the difference of it. The down is here. Now once you finish, upstroke, you're ready to bring it right up. Bring it right back up. So you're going to whip it back down. There's not much difference until you start playing them faster. You can hear the difference. If I play a paradiddle right now, there's a slight difference in the upstroke and the tap. You can slightly hear it. Sometimes I remember marching in the parade, and I learned knew the song, and I was playing it the way I saw the music written. And one of the guys said to me later, "You playing the upstroke?" Because you can hear the up ring, the ring coming up, and I'm pulling the sound up. Because everybody, he was playing it with a downstroke. And I said, no, I saw that the upstroke. And we looked at it at the next rehearsal, and he switched back to the upstroke. He just naturally went to the downstroke, but it's actually an upstroke. Because the upstroke has a different sound. And that's the last thing I wanted to discuss was the sound of the drums. I've always heard, how come your drum sounds different? It's the natural materials. It's all natural. We have solid ash shells and one single ply. The heads, again, we said a calfskin. He has two flush calfskins. I have a flush and also a straight head on the bottom. Some of our drums were set up the same way, either straight or false head on the bottom. And without the muffle strip. So there's the times when people say, oh, they're coming. I've heard people say, how do they know they're coming? They can hear us coming down the street. It's because the extra sound is coming off the heads that's not being muffled out. So people can pick us up before they get close to them. One guy that we had before he passed away, Sammy Romy, we were doing a parade in Montrose, New York. Now, if you've ever been in Montrose, New York, their parade route for the Fireman's Parade basically is almost all uphill. So this is near his end of life, and he said, he came and said, well, you know where to be. We told him, you know where to go. Don't worry about it. We got it covered. So we started the parade off down near the valley, basically, and he did not want to get in line when we got close to him. He heard us from the very beginning, all the way up to there. He said he didn't want to interrupt it. I said, what do you mean interrupt? Get in here. But that's how the sound, on the right day, on a Moeller day, which we sometimes love to hear, you can hear the sound of these drums miles. I remember being Lake Placid, New York. I was young. We had a Hudson Valley Firemen's Association had a convention there. And after the parade was over, we were, having a jam session. This one gentleman came over to us. He said, I was sitting on my porch and I heard these drums. I don't know how far away he was, but he said I had to keep walking until I found where the drums were coming from. The sound, the natural, the all natural, the openingness, even the way the heads, the sticks are off the heads with the upstroke and the downstroke, it opens up the sound of the drums. Not just all from the bottom, but you also get it from the top. And this gentleman he said he felt it in his soul, the sound from the drums. Because and I believe he was part Indian, so it hit him in a certain area. Then he just came over and said that. And he enjoyed this afternoon with us that for at least another hour or so. We're going to take Moeller's technique into effect, leave him wanting more. We're going to play the last piece we discussed about playing. We thought we had time to know which one we're going to play. So we're going to play a piece called Exercise, written by Thomas Cecil Andrews. Folks, have a good day. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy our presentation.